Our friend Christian Pulisic, all right, we talked about him in the previous pod. He's grown a beard. We have now seen him back on the field after a lengthy injury. Rumors are that he could be playing, or at least available this week, which is a good thing, not just from a Chelsea perspective, but from an American perspective. But there are continued rumors when it comes to where he is going to possibly end up, and that possible move happening in the summer gets more and more possible, I think, with every discussion about Christian Pulisic.
Correct. And we identified 5 teams that he's been linked to recently, and you ranked them in order of where you'd most like to see him end up.
I did, and once you see these, you'll understand the thinking on each and every one. And some, I guess, maybe would be more controversial. But we've heard a lot of talk because he's one of the great young players in the world. He also, I don't think that Chelsea is going to get even close to the $80 million that they spent on him. So there's going to be a deal made here. But he's a guy who hasn't played a whole lot. He's a guy that has shown that he is still incapable of really being healthy for any extended period of time. But there's going to be a lot of people still kicking the tires because of the talent that he has. And I think he's going to make somebody happy ultimately when this gets done. All right, so if we start this off here, and this actually was your suggestion, because we did talk about this beforehand. And there's some different teams and obviously different areas for him to go to. The Italian game, as we know, is very unique. I do agree with you, and that's why we put this at number 5 here, that a move to Italy and a move specifically to AC Milan could get him back into a situation where he's playing on a consistent basis.
Don't say we put it at 5. This is your order. I would have it differently, which I'll let you know.
Well, I'm sorry. We had him in the 5. Excuse me. I put him at 5. But you convinced me, all right, that AC Milan should be part of this 5.
Yeah, originally they weren't even in the 5 that we were going to rank, and I said you got to put
exactly. That's a good clarification there. But look, it's not the AC Milan of the 80s and 90s. We all understand that. It's not even the AC Milan of 10 or 20 years ago. Having said that, there is opportunity, and I think specifically the way the game is played and the type of player that he is. I mean, at his best, Christian Pulisic can be Del Piero-esque, and maybe that's sacrilege to say something like that. We have not seen his best, but maybe going to Italy can draw that out. Why were you so adamant about having AC Milan as part of this?
I would put them number 1 on my list.
Okay.
I love that fit. They're a big enough club that it doesn't feel like a step down going from Chelsea to AC Milan, and I think that league with his pace, his explosiveness, he could really have some success, especially if they sell Rafael Leão. But even if they keep Leão, Pulisic perhaps playing on the other wing, and I love Stefano Pioli. He tends to get the best out of players, so I do think there's a real
Hold everything.
Oh.
Listen, I know that Chelsea has had struggles, and we're actually going to talk a little bit more about that later on. But don't tell me that going from Chelsea to AC Milan is not a step down.
It is, but not that severe. AC Milan is still one of the brand names in European football.
I think you're living in the past, but okay. All right. Anyway, let's put up number 4 here in terms of, possibilities. Now, this is familiarity. This is certainly a step down within the EPL, and I would say a step down. However, there are those that argue, and I can certainly make this argument, and you will see in this 5, I make different arguments here, and I can argue different ways. But when it comes to Leeds, this is a team that we know is going to struggle. This is a team that needs something. Now, the caveat with this one is that this is if Leeds stay up. I do not want Christian Pulisic playing in the championship, but if Leeds were to stay up, that would be a potential move. He's got his friends there. He's got that American connection there. It would be a very, very different environment because no matter what happens, I think Leeds is going to continue to be this team that struggles each and every year to be just a medium-sized level in terms of performance team in the EPL. But there might be a comfort, and that step down may provide him an opportunity to do some different things. So I have him at 4 there. Any thoughts on that?
I was against McKennie going there because I thought that made the team a bit too American. So you imagine throwing Pulisic on top of it.
At this point, I just want as many Americans there as possible, and then let's let the chips fall where they may. So that's what we have there. All right, when we go to number 3 here, let's call up for 3. All right, so this is one that's been in the news of late. We've talked about this on the show before, and the concerns there are the style the Simeone way, but Simeone might be going out, and so that's why this is intriguing. But the general style of La Liga, I think, would suit him more than maybe the rough and tumble style of the EPL. And so that's where I put that there. My caveat there would be if he is just getting berated every week by Simeone and playing. I mean, we've seen Christian Pulisic play outside back, and I would hate to see him go to La Liga, play for Atletico Madrid, and be defending most of the time and just getting down and dirty as opposed to using his God-given talents.
Yeah, I wouldn't love that one if Simeone stays in charge.
Okay. All right. Let's go to number 2 here. And this, for me, is actually, it was real close to being number 1, and you'll see when I throw up number 1 why there's just a blatant difference in these two. But Newcastle United, we know, is heading in an upward trajectory. Newcastle United is a work in progress, but what a hell of a work in progress it is. And I think sooner rather than later, they are going to find a way to that elite status that, let's also be honest, is what is being bought right now in a good way. I want to see this ascension of Newcastle United. And if I'm Christian Pulisic, the way that they play or the way they want to play, I think he is a welcome addition, and I think that he would very quickly, because it's not the highest level where you have that type of pressure. It's not your Man Cities. It's not your, let's be honest, it's not even your Liverpools, even though they're struggling right now. So the pressure wouldn't, I think, be as great. And it might, he gets to stay in the EPL and continue on and be part of that project. And he represents, I think, a skill and ability and talent that is that next level for Newcastle in terms of what they are trying to do.
I agree. In fact, I said AC Milan would be my number 1. Truthfully, it would be a jump ball between AC Milan and Newcastle. I think this would be a great fit as well. I've watched an inordinate amount of Newcastle this season because of Bruno Guimaraes, and I love Eddie Howe as a manager. He does get the best out of players. You see what he's done with Miguel Almiron. They did just sign Anthony Gordon from Newcastle, so that might be an issue. But no, I think overall that Newcastle would be a very interesting destination.
All right, so this is the number 1, and this is going to be controversial because it's Real Madrid. Now, we have heard rumors coming out about Real Madrid. I don't know how much to believe them. I don't know if you believe them, but I think you would agree with me that unlike all of these others, and we can debate whether it's a step down or something like that, this is undoubtedly a step up, and a massive step up. Now, an American playing at Real Madrid, and Christian Pulisic in particular. Now, I used the word playing because, let's be honest, we had Taylor Twellman. If you haven't heard that podcast, go back and listen to it because he was so good and he was so interesting, actually, when we were talking to him about Christian Pulisic. And he said, I want Christian Pulisic playing somewhere 80% of the time and being a regular starter. I don't think Taylor, myself, you, or anybody else out there thinks that Christian Pulisic is going to walk into Real Madrid, albeit not the greatest Real Madrid team, and find a way to start. But stranger things have happened. And maybe he goes into a situation where he is playing on one of the elite teams that, again, in a league where there is 2 elite teams. There are 2 elite teams when it comes to La Liga. So they know that time and time again, they are going to have the ball, they are going to have the possession, they are going to win. And that pressure is only relative to playing on the great, if not the greatest team in the world, and being one of the 2 great teams within that league. And a part of me says, it's an offer you can't refuse. It's Real Madrid. And I know, listen, Christian Pulisic has made plenty of money. He will continue to make plenty of money. And so he doesn't have to go places necessarily because of the money. And if he went to Real Madrid, he would still make lots of money. But I think that it represents so much, maybe just to me and maybe just to the outside. But I do think that it almost is the culmination of the project that is Christian Pulisic, if this were to come to be, if Real Madrid was actually interested in Christian Pulisic. So I would have that at number 1.
First off, my dad called me the day after that interview and was raving about Taylor Twellman. He was so good on this podcast, huh?
The dude's a pro. I mean, there's a reason why Apple wants him.
I don't believe this rumor for 1 second,
okay.
So I haven't given it much thought. And, maybe if Vinicius needs somebody to lace his boots for training.
Wow. Hey, whatever. Let's see Vinicius go over there and play hey, let's see Vinicius go over there and play at Leeds. All right? Where did Vinicius play when he was over in Brazil?
Flamengo.
What a surprise there. And then he went over to the greatest team in the world. I mean, look, how about we cross this bridge when we get it? But that's my 5. Let us know your 5. Anyway, that's our Christian Pulisic potential for the summer. You like that clip? Well, my State of the Union podcast drops every week. Subscribe now on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. You like that clip? Well, my State of the Union podcast drops twice a week right here on my very own YouTube page. The only way to stay up to date is to hit that subscribe button down below. Size the day, and see you soon.